everybody, it's Dana. Welcome back to day 7. We are plowing along on these Christmas cards. So let's go ahead and get started. Today I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Candy Cane Christmas stamp set. This is such a fun stamp set to make beautiful backgrounds. And I'm also going to be using some Simon Says stamp. Now these colors are a little bit more muted than I would normally use on a card, but I thought I would challenge myself to think outside the box of normal Christmas colors. So let's go ahead and get started. I have some Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock and this adorable little gumdrop from this stamp set. Now I love this stamp set because one, I love Christmas candy canes, gumdrops, anything chocolate. So I thought it would be really cute to make a simple background. Now this background is totally simple to replicate in any color combination. Also make sure anytime you're stamping, you want to stamp your image off the side of the paper. Remember, if you're using designer paper out of those 6x6 paper pads, you will also notice that the image runs off of the card panel. So just keep that in mind when you're making backgrounds. All right, so I started with that Rosie Cheeks pink color, and next I'm coming in with a orange, and this is Sunkissed. It's a little bit more vibrant than the Rose Cheeks, but it works perfectly together. Also, if you're having a hard time trying to figure out color combinations to go, head on over to my Pinterest board. I have a ton of color combinations to use on cards, home decor, or if you're just looking to match something up in your wardrobe. All right, now since I have that color down, I want to come in with a pretty shade of green. This green is called Beanstalk Green, and it does have almost like a gray kind of undertone to it. It's not like a vibrant, bright green, and it does really marries nicely with these colors. Now, the one thing about Simon Says Stamp ink is once you stamp it, you wait a little bit and then the color really begins to settle into the paper. So at first it might look a tad bit splotchy, but just give it a minute or so and all the colors would absorb into the paper and it becomes beautiful. The next color I'm using is Goldenlocks, which is not a very vibrant yellow, but it's a nice subtle yellow, and it's going to work perfectly with this color combination. So as you can see, I'm just filling in most of the white area just so I have a cute little background. Now again, you can use these with really bright colors if you want to, or you can make it monotone in different colors of grays, greens, blues, pinks, you name it. I'm going to clean off that stamp one more time, and I'm coming in with my last color, which is Velvet Orchid. This is a beautiful purple, very soft in nature, but it really plays nicely with all of these more muted, I guess I want to call them more pastel-y colors. I'll come in and fill in most of the area that's left with this color. However, I am going to double check some things before I go any further with the purple. I'm just going to add some more in there, make sure they're running off the page. And I'm trying not to like overlap my gumdrops, trying to keep them all kind of separated. But if you wanted to, you can definitely have these overlap as long as your colors are pretty together. Now that I have all of my colors down, I can go back in and start filling in some of those spaces that are still left open. So I'll just repeat doing the first color, adding some more of those cute little gumdrops in, and work my way back through all the colors I used. Anytime you're doing a background, try to make sure that you get on all the colors you want to use first, and then you can go back in and start filling in some of those open areas that you still have left. So I went ahead and used a little bit more of that Rosie Cheeks I also am coming back in and using that Sunkissed. Now do remember, if you run out of space for all the colors, it's okay because those colors are already represented in the card panel. So as long as you have your beginning colors all down, you don't have to worry about making sure like all the colors are even. As long as they're all represented, you're good to go. Next, I'm going to come in with that Beanstalk Green and just fill in the last part of that area. Now that looks good, and we can now move on to the second part of the card, the sentiment. I went ahead and chose that one of the sentiments that I thought would be really, really cute. And it's have yourself the sweetest little Christmas. This is perfect, and I like that this sentiment is more of a block shape. Now you can, if you want to, separate them out, but I'm going to stamp it all together. I'm using my Versamark ink on this and just some regular black cardstock. I thought the black would really pop against all of this colorful background. I'll go ahead and stamp that down, and I do want to heat emboss this. I do want a pop of white on this sentiment. Now, I did stamp it down with an acrylic block, but I think I shook a little bit when I did it. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp that a second time because I really want this sentiment to be crisp. All right, now since I have that stamped down, I can bring in my embossing powder. Now, the embossing powder that I always like to use is the Arctic White Ink on 3 embossing powder. To me, this seems to be the whitest of all the embossing powders that I own. So I'll sprinkle that on, go ahead and tap off any excess. And I did end up fudging that first one. So I'm really glad that I ended up stamping that out a second time. I'm going to come in with a paintbrush and I'm just going to wipe off any of the excess. Now I did use a powder tool with this, but I missed some of the areas in which I had stamped, so I'm just going to brush that off. Next, I'll bring in my heat tool, and I'm getting it really, really hot before I actually bring it to the cardstock. I always heat from the front and the back. This allows your embossing powder to melt a little bit more even, and you don't end up blowing all your embossing powder off of your cardstock. All right, now since I have that done, I'm just going to grab myself a pair of scissors and trim out this sentiment. Now, if you want to, you can cut it in a circle, you can cut it in a square, but I thought it would be fun just to use my scissors and just cut around each line, keeping this all together. All right, now since I have that finished, I'm going to pop up my sentiment on some foam tape and place that directly in the middle, and look how cute. The sentiment does not take away from that gorgeous design we have, and that black certainly pops against all that color. Now I decided to mount my card panel on some black cardstock because I felt the need to bring that black into the border part of this. Now, if you want to, you can just leave it white on white, but you guys normally know I use white card bases. And I just wanted this little background to stand out a little bit more than if it was just white on white. So I used my ATG gun and I placed that or matted that down. And I think using just this touch of black will really make that card panel pop. To finish off the card, I'm going to use that same ATG gun to glue down this onto a top folding card base. I'll use my grid mat to help me line that up, and then I can go ahead and place this down. Now I do want to add a couple finishing touches to this. Now, while pressing this down, I did get a little bit of my nail polish on this, but I'm just going to grab my sand eraser and clean that up. That is one reason I don't paint my nails a lot, because I always seem to transfer the nail polish. Okay, I'm going to bring in one of the Nuvo glitter pens, and I just want to add a little bit of sparkle to some of these gumdrops. I don't want to overwhelm this card with a whole bunch of glitter, but of course I had to add a little bit of sparkle to this. So I'm just picking a few of the gumdrops to add some of that glitter pen to. Now, if you didn't want to use a glitter pen and you wanted maybe some of these gumdrops to look a little bit different, you can totally use a Versamark pen and color some of those up and then put clear embossing powder on it. But again, I just wanted to add a little bit of differential pieces to this and also add a little bit of sparkle. Okay, now since I have that finished up, I want to add one more element to this, and that is some white dots. I use my Jelly Roll pen for this, and it's a number 10, and I'm just kind of adding those little sugar marks. So I'm adding just 3 little dots on each one of the gumdrops just for some added pizzazz to this card and just to finish everything off. All right, if you guys have not seen day 1 through 6, make sure to click on the playlist above. I'll have all of those cards available for you to watch. I'll just go ahead and finish adding those 3 dots to my last gumdrop. And there we have it. The card is complete. Thank you guys for watching day 7. And I will see you guys soon for day 8. Have a fantastic day and stay blessed.